I would just binge watch some random show and be on social media all the time, and at some point I just needed a break. Hey, my name is Undine. I am making videos about minimalism and mindfulness, and today's video is going to be about life without the internet. Yes, I have been a minimalist for about 18 years now, but during that time I have really changed my practice of minimalism quite a bit. Sometimes I was very minimalist, I would say an extreme minimalist. That was for a few years, I think. After school, when I left home and moved into my first apartment, I almost had nothing. But the internet was something that I always had access to, and I really needed it as a research tool or to connect to my friends who were in other cities too, and just what you use it for, right? So these phases, they really varied, and I even had quite a bit stuff during some years. But one time I really wanted to make a cut, and I wanted to live without internet. The reason for that was primarily that I had a really bad contract and I wanted a new contract. But after thinking about it, I decided to be without internet for half a year. And I wanted to do that as a journey to understand why I need the internet so much, if I really need it, and if it's really necessary in today's life. Because at some point I was not sure that it was for me. I thought maybe I don't really need the internet because I was studying at that time, and so I could go to the university and be at the library and study there at any time, and I wouldn't need the internet at home, right? That was what I was thinking. Why would I need the internet at home? I would just binge watch some random show and be on social media all the time, and at some point I just needed a break. I also wanted to concentrate on studying much more, and I thought that having no internet would help me procrastinate less. But it turned out that it was quite different from what I was expecting. So when I started this experiment of going without internet, the first thing I did was using the internet at the university more. So I basically didn't use the internet any less. I just stayed longer at the university, at the library or at the computer room. This was quite annoying actually, and I tried to make it more mindful even then, when I was not so much into mindfulness practice yet. So I tried to adapt my schedule in a way that I would go home at a certain time, like 8 p.m. and after that I would not have any internet anymore. And that was quite an experience, because being at home alone, just having your phone and having the ability to meet friends or to eat alone without watching a show, for me that was at that point new. I mean, it was really new. I was born in the 80s, so I knew how it was basically to be without internet. But at that point, I wasn't living like in the 80s or 90s anymore. I was used to fast internet, and I was used to having it around me all the time, on my phone all the time. So that was actually a very positive thing that happened, that I could really spend time with my friends more and with myself and with my food actually, to not sit in front of the screen while eating. I actually think that is very unhealthy. But there were also a lot of downsides, and after these I think 6 months it was. After that time I switched back to being a normal internet user, and I really enjoyed it very much. I really appreciated it after that. So the downsides. Well, first of all, I was studying physics back then in Bavaria, and I really needed the internet most of the time to study. And usually you also study in the evening. You don't meet friends all the time, to be honest. You have to study a lot, you have to do a lot of exercises, solve a lot of problems, and prepare the lecture and prepare for exams and all that sort of stuff. So I ended up spending a lot of time at the library and not at home so much anymore, which was actually pretty stressful for me. I also needed the internet to, research code snippets or stuff like that for either classes or for code projects I was working on. So I didn't have that access anymore, and my work and my student life became much, much more difficult. So I totally don't recommend to do this digital detox, internet cleanse thing at a time where you could really need the internet. Yeah, you should think about that first. But for me, there was no other opportunity at that time because I could only cancel my subscription to this really bad contract at that time. So I did, and I wanted to have that experience then. And also I have to admit, I really could only keep going for that long because I had internet at my workplace, at the university, and so on. I didn't go completely cold turkey on the internet. But I did use the internet much more mindful than before, and that really made a difference for me. And when looking back, I can really recognize that change. And at that time, it also helped me to procrastinate less, to make more of the time I had in front of a screen and not in front of a screen. And yes, I do recommend to go offline for a while if you believe that you have an issue with internet use. If you think you might be a little bit addicted to watching shows or spending time on social media, which are the two most, opportunities to waste time on the internet. For me now, the internet is a research tool, and I need that tool, and it is a working tool for me. I also sometimes watch documentaries, and I watch informative stuff on the internet. But with entertainment, I am really, really mindful. I really try to be as purposeful and intentional with that as possible, because it steals a lot of your time, even if it is entertaining and even if you are having fun watching that kind of stuff. For me, this is not a valuable use of my time to be in front of a screen and to be entertained. I don't seek that kind of entertainment anymore, to be honest. I don't have so much time after work and I want to spend it with my family or with meaningful things. So what I ask myself usually when I decide whether something is meaningful or not is, would I tell a friend about this? Like, oh, that was a great evening. Remember when we were talking on Instagram that night? Oh, that was such a great night, right? That was so great when we were sitting by the screen having chocolate chips, you remember that night, right? Yeah, me neither. So that's basically what I do. I ask myself, will I remember that time? Will it be worth my time? Will it fill my brain with more knowledge? Will it make me more happy or content? Will it make me more mindful in my everyday life? Or does it help me to relax? And yes, watching shows might help you relax, but I think it also is a giant waste of time because it fills your brain with a lot of empty information. This information that you put into your brain when you are watching a lot of shows, especially when you're binge watching, it is degrading fast and it is very superficial. It has no meaning in your everyday life. I mean, okay, if you want to talk to your friends about latest Game of Thrones episode, I guess that is something you can socialize about too. But in general, really think about it. When you're watching shows and stuff like that, it's not adding any value to your life. And it takes hours to watch all that stuff. I prefer to really do something with my hands in that time or read a book. And you could say that a book also doesn't add any value. For me, I would say reading books is like an intellectual thing and watching shows really isn't at some point. But the other thing is also that reading a book requires me to concentrate, to sit down in a place, to make myself comfortable on the sofa and, to take that time and put it into that moment. And that is usually something I would not do or I did not do when I was watching shows. And I would just sit down in front of my computer and eat something fatty and sugary. And maybe this is something that you have experienced in your life. You should let me know if you did. Are you struggling with internet use or with watching shows and stuff like that and social media? Does it feel like you're wasting time online? Or do you think all of this really adds to your life, really makes you more happy and helps you to connect with other people maybe as well? I don't deny that, by the way. I really think the internet can help to connect with other people. I want to do that. I am starting this YouTube channel because I want to connect with you and I want to hear your thoughts. And I believe that the internet is a really great space to share experiences and to discuss topics. On the other hand, I wouldn't really take the internet over any personal interaction, and sitting by the fire is not the same as sitting at your laptop. Of course, sometimes you can't change that and you might have this as an only option, and then you will be grateful for it. And that is maybe what I want to end with, because I am grateful that I have my internet account. I am grateful that I have a computer. I use it every day and I really need it for my work. But I also needed to connect with people, and I also needed to be entertained sometimes. I do enjoy a good show. I do enjoy a good movie and music. But during my time offline, I have learned to balance all of this much better. And I'm very grateful for that. And if you are planning to do something like that, please let me know in the comments. Or if you already have gone offline and you would like to share your experience, I would really be interested in that. That's it. Frosch im Hals. At first, when I had no internet anymore, I really started using it more at the library and at something that we call the SIP pool, which is a computer room. And in Germany, we call it a SIP pool or a computer room, I think.